Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly as we hear from John and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
Hello, everybody. It's John, Pollock, and Wai Ting. Welcome to Rewind-A-Dynamite, post-wrestling's post-Dynamite show. Ta-da, here we are. Hello, Wai.
What a very nice opening. Ta-da. I like it. Hey, what's up?
We're here, and we're going to chat.
All right, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
Well, you brought up today earlier, you wanted to mention the Bryan Danielson interview on the MMA Hour, right?
Did you get to hear any of it?
I did. I listened to it.
So Bryan Danielson was on the MMA Hour today with Ariel Helwani, chatting about many different topics, but I thought maybe the most interesting stuff that came up was when all the cuts were brought up by Ariel and Bryan's response to it. And Bryan is, in these situations, I mean, he to me is somebody that he is going to give you his clear opinion. And it's very interesting that, you know, he brings up the fact that my father-in-law is the one making all of these calls. Like, he has to be the guy to give the notice to all of these performers and call them. And Danielson's big thing is that, you know, he can understand when there is an issue with the talent that has to go. But this is a contract that both parties enter. And one party can sign you to a deal for X amount of years without any obligation to fulfill their end of the agreement, that being the term, that they can give you 90 days notice to tell you, we are no longer going to be employing you after this 90-day period. However, on the other side of the coin, when talent wants out of a deal, that is not the case, where you can give your company 90 days notice to get out of it. And it's a fair point, and one that I think I brought up in the past. And it all goes back to what I feel is going to be a major aspect of this generation. And maybe what Danielson had stated as well is that he had just always believed this is how wrestling is. Like, this is just what I've grown up in this industry, understanding the power dynamic. But now seeing the way AEW conducts things, that, you know, they have let 3 people go during the pandemic and have way less money than WWE. And he understands the business side of it, but he is now seeing like an alternative approach to how big business is run in the professional wrestling space. But it just goes back to me that, yes, there is a great inequality when it comes to power and leverage. And performers, it's ultimately, you know, you need some kind of representation, because this is going to be the power structure in this industry.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, you know, it's all pretty moot unless you have that point of leverage, and the point of leverage is AEW. The point of leverage is competition. You know, we wouldn't get Bryan Danielson being able to even speak up like this, I don't think, if not for him being employed currently by another company. They are very, I think, honest thoughts that anybody would have, looking at the situation, not being used to the structure of this sort of, you know, pro wrestling monopoly that I think we've been used to. So it was refreshing to hear from somebody who was a top star who just main evented a WrestleMania.
And one who, I mean, he has a great reverence for this company, as he stated. Like, he has family members with this company, and I just think it's always interesting to kind of see that perspective from somebody that has been, you know, part of this industry now since 1999, and just seeing like there are different ways of going about it, and what are going to be the lasting effects of these 2 years where WWE has made more cuts than ever in these 2 years. It used to be that the idea of getting that big WWE contract was security, stability of having, that's what you want a contract for, is that you can make your your life choices based around, I have a 3-year deal here, I have a 5-year deal with this company. And I think that one thing that is very clear after all of these cuts is that you can sign a piece of paper, but it's very much at the discretion of the company of whether the length of that deal is fulfilled or not. And this was actually brought up by Ariel, the fact that that is a very similar situation to UFC fighters who might sign, you could sign a 8-fight deal with the UFC, but you come in and you lose a fight, they are able to cut you off of one fight. Like, just imagine the instability that comes with that if you are a rising fighter that does not have a great name value attached to you. There's, in the WWE space, which was also addressed in the interview, is the idea that you sign for a certain amount of money. It's like that almost becomes a target. Like, if you're looking at cost cutting or making like certain numbers and you've got this gigantic number attached to your name, it almost is like quietly stated, like almost like, is it in your best interest that if you want stability with a company, do not take that giant contract that is offered your way, because you become a more easy target when it comes to the next round, where we've got to make this number, and you get us to that number a lot quicker than having to send 4 guys on their way, as opposed to you because of your large salary. It's a very difficult industry to navigate for talent, even at the absolute highest end. And I just look at so many different areas of income and revenue. And this is just because I'm fresh off listening to this earnings call and Nick Khan going over all of these different ways of which they are cultivating income and creating revenue, and Stephanie's like sponsorship initiative. And it's so much of it, it's discretionary on the part of the company of what is going to trickle down to talent. And it's always been that way, from house show payoffs to pay-per-views to DVD sales. Like, it is all a discretionary amount that makes its way to the performer that does not have any kind of representation, does not have a seat at the table, does not negotiate with the company when a large-scale television contract is being negotiated. And that has given such a incredible advantage to your UFCs and WWEs, especially during this pandemic period, but historically as well. And I don't know, it always comes around, and I'm not one that is ever holding my breath that we are ever going to see some kind of players association or anything close to that. But I think it's very fair to say that with all of this revenue that is created, the talent, whatever they're making, deserve more.
Yeah, very likely. Yep. It's unfortunately, I think just the way,
and it applies to AEW too. It's like, when they sign their next big television contract, it's not like there is a talent pool that is owed any of that revenue that comes in either. I mean, it goes like, this is industry wide.
Yeah, you're really just, it sounds like a critique on the structure of capitalism. And I assume it's a bigger issue than maybe even what the scope of pro wrestling can cover right now. So I don't know how it necessarily gets fixed, especially because I don't see any incentive for, anybody at the top of these companies to form a union or anything like that. So I don't know how much of this conversation is necessary. What I will say is, Bryan pointed out in the interview that exactly, I think the thought process of what we are all assuming is, and it's the WWE going through the practice of hoarding a lot of the talent when AEW was starting up, trying to prevent a lot of people from jumping over to the other company. And now that they see that AEW has a full roster, and they can't possibly take anybody, so they're going to cut a lot more people. Many of those contracts that people have already signed for higher inflated amounts. And this sort of hoarding, this sort of playing with people's livelihoods and dangling, these massive amounts of money in front of them, in front of their families, only to take it away now that it's convenient for them. I don't think it should go unpunished. Certainly in terms of PR, This company has taken a great hit. Anytime one of these roster cuts gets announced, it's just more and more people, I think, turning off of this product and going over to a competition. And you know, it to me, I think nothing is free, and they are paying for it somehow.
Yeah, it's a very interesting interview, and in particular that aspect as well. But I mean, he also talked a lot about his origin. It was funny, like they brought up in the interview, like him starting to train in 2002 at the LA dojo, and then that was very much the backdrop for tonight's match with Rocky Romero, and being roommates with Lyoto Machida that he wrote about in his book. But it was a very enjoyable interview, discussing like his MMA roots and learning a lot from MMA of how to incorporate different things into his style. He very much strikes you as somebody that is always looking at what is believable in a fight that can work in like taking outside factors and how do they apply into my line of work and what I can learn from.
Yeah, he's somebody who's just incredibly fun to listen to talk about. I listened to the Bellas podcast interview with him afterwards as well, which was also very interesting.
They didn't get into 90-day no competes on that interview.
They did not talk about their father-in-law's I guess involvement, I suppose, in all that stuff. There was some talk of keeping your sex life alive after marriage, which was very fascinating to hear as well. So I encourage him. He's just a man of that's incredibly open, I guess, through conversation, incredibly thoughtful when he speaks. So I encourage people to check out both of those interviews.
Did you make it to Bella Brains?
Yeah, I did. You know what I didn't like, though? They have a new producer, I suppose, or a new editor for some of these, and they just they edited the shit out of Bella Brains. Oh. They took out all the silences, which are usually the fun parts, you know, just to kind of hear like the twins try to scramble for answers to these, you know, grade school level trivia questions, which is always fun. But they just basically cut out all the gaps and just left the answers, which really took a lot of the fun away from it, unfortunately.
Oh. I didn't make it to Bella Brains. That's unfortunate. I know that was a big hit during your listening days of the Bella podcast, which it seems like it's kind of infrequent now.
I think they just came back after a hiatus.
Okay. Jorge Masvidal is out of the UFC 269 card next month, where he was set to take on Leon Edwards, which was one of the big fights of that pay-per-view. ESPN reported he sustained a undisclosed injury, so that's a notable hit to that 269 pay-per-view that has Dustin Poirier challenging Charles Oliveira and Amanda Nunes fighting Juliana Pena as the two title fights on the card. And I guess now the question, Wai, is, you know, it's been speculated this could just simply send Leon Edwards into his welterweight title fight that many feel he is owed at this point with his unbeaten streak that he has had going back to 2015. And, I mean, it could really just clear the way for Jorge Masvidal to explore whatever he would like to do in MMA or pro wrestling, I guess.
You think so? You think he, you know, despite the injury, he would come in and do something for pro wrestling?
I don't know. No, I'm only saying that jokingly. But I guess we'll see. I don't expect to see him at this pay-per-view on Saturday. But he is out of this fight now. So depending on how severe the injury is, I guess that will dictate where things go. I could certainly see Edwards now just simply getting moved on to Usman. And I think the fight to make is Masvidal and Colby Covington, coming off of Covington's loss this past week. The former teammates at ATT and now bitter enemies.
Okay, cool.
Probably a better direction for both. We will be chatting about more news on Thursday, and I will be joined by Nate Milton for the post-daily news update. So look out for that on Thursday. And do go and check out Wai Ting and WH Park on MCU Later, a special edition of the show as they review The Eternals, which came out in theaters last week. Wai and WH went off to the movies and shared their thoughts in a riveting podcast going through a very divisive Marvel release.
That is correct. Yeah, that's up at the Pro Wrestling Cafe right now. So if you've checked out the film or intend to and just want to know two other people's opinions about it, go and listen to that podcast. Quick plug for our friends at Up Next. I'll be on Best Match Ever on their Patreon tomorrow talking about the SmackDown 6 era of WWE television from 2002. So if you're interested in that, go check that out too. Support those guys.
How many matches did you watch in preparation for that show?
I believe it's 6.
Oh, okay. The 6 of the SmackDown 6. Okay.
Yes. And we debut our new scale, 6-star rating scale, which was a hell of a trouble to convert back to 5. Anyway, so
was Braden watching at that age?
I don't think so. Oh, he might have. I don't know. I don't even know if he was alive at that age. Jeez.
Barely, but he was alive in 2002.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look out for that on the up next Patreon feed. Wai Ting chatting the SmackDown 6, a very fondly remembered era for one Wai Ting when he gets to chat. It's that and the finger poke of doom. Those were really his formative periods of pro wrestling.
Yes.
And maybe we will add this one to the list from the Indiana Farmers Coliseum. AEW Dynamite. Now this is an arena name way that, I mean, has not been taken over, but I'm sure the Indiana Farmers, I'm sure there's some corporate involvement there, but sounds like a much more straightforward name than the KFC Yum Center or the Dunkin' Donuts Center that Raw has hosted the last 2 weeks.
I mean, it's a look at who has the money, right? It's KFC, it's Dunkin' Donuts, it's the Indiana Farmers.
The Indiana Farmers, yes, with their own Coliseum and a red-hot crowd tonight. Immediate off the bat here. They were just so excited to have pro wrestling. All the farmers welcoming AEW into their town. And we're starting things off with Bryan Danielson against Rocky Romero. Their first singles match since 2008. And Romero comes out with the best friends. And earlier in the day, they had done an angle online where Kazuchika Okada had sent the word through Romero that all of the best friends have been invited into Chaos, and they accepted. Cassidy had no idea what was going on, but he is now a member of Chaos.
Yeah. So this comes out after, I didn't hear this, but Tony Khan was, I guess, again on Busted Open and radio and mentioned Okada. Is that right? And Tony Schiavone mentioned Okada sometime as well?
Yes.
So, seeing this, listening to this match, Okada feels like he's very much an AEW appearance in the future. They did nothing to really kind of, tell you otherwise. It felt like this was very much a push for what's to come with Okada.
Yeah, I mean, they were certainly dangling Okada's name out there. He is here he can't be at the pay-per-view on Saturday because they've got the San Jose show, but his time over here, I mean, I think it would make a whole lot of sense that they do something here, and the fact that they were so open about dropping Okada's name here, I think people are naturally going to speculate in that direction. So Excalibur brings up the history of Danielson and Romero going back to the New Japan Dojo in LA in 2002. They shake hands to start, and Danielson gets distracted with Orange Cassidy on the floor as he's putting his hands in his pockets as Romero lands a tope suicida. Danielson would come back with chops and kicks in the corner and delivers a knee to the body of Romero and continues delivering body shots. Matt Hardy shows up in the front row where he would remain for most of the program trying to get the attention of Orange Cassidy. Romero would hit a missile drop kick, and there's a belly to back by Danielson from the top, and it's countered by Romero, who lands on top. Danielson then slams Romero to break free of an armbar, and Romero was just relentless here, going for armbar attempt after armbar attempt, and nearly gets the straight armbar when Danielson breaks out and nails him with a head kick, blocks a sliced bread, stomps him down in the face, and goes for the label lock, which is blocked, so he transitions and applies a tequila sunrise, which Danielson should be giving a bonus here to Rocky Romero because, dude, he tapped so quickly to make this tequila sunrise look like the most devastating submission that Danielson has added to his arsenal in 10 minutes and 52 seconds, as Excalibur says that Danielson has 1 million ways to beat you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder how he goes about choosing the submission that he's going to use today. Yeah, he introduced the tequila sunrise here, but I don't even know if he'll use it again, because I think next time he'll probably figure out something to do. I almost feel like maybe Bryan was looking for a bit more of a balance here for that tequila sunrise as he kind of slipped here. But nonetheless, it looked very painful. And I thought the tap out at the end was, as quick as it was very believable. Good little match here. I felt incredibly satisfied. This was two people who hadn't wrestled each other for a very long time. And now seeing their current incarnations, I thought they delivered a very good match.
Yeah, I thought it was a really fun, competitive match. I thought Romero looked really, really good in this, and you introduced another submission for Danielson. Very entertaining opening match, I thought. No complaints.
Yeah, and had a special feeling attached to it as well. Of course, this being a New Japan star and the history attached to both men. So it, to me, felt like a mini attraction. Not necessarily the type of match that maybe your casual audience will care about, but for me, it certainly felt special.
Tony Schiavone introduced the Inner Circle. They come out, and you see the signs. We came to sing Judas, and they're out on the stage. And before the music, before they can hit the big part of the song, American Top Team and the Men of the Year jump the Inner Circle, and this crowd is pissed that this has been taken away. Their one chance, the one time AEW is coming to the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, and we don't get to hear Judas. Junior Dos Santos is quickly becoming my favorite pro wrestler. This man, he hit Sammy Guevara with a body shot. Then he grabbed a kendo stick, and the smile on his face. He is having the time of his life doing pro wrestling. Do you know it was 10 years ago this week that him and Cain Velasquez were getting set to headline that first card on Fox? And now both 10 years later, getting set for pro wrestling matches in different parts of the world.
Incredible. Wow.
So they beat the hell out of the Inner Circle here. Ortiz was beaten down with the kendo stick. The Men of the Year then lift up Jericho in the ring as Dan Lambert is perched on the turnbuckle and powerbombs Jericho through a table. Scorpio Sky says this is just a preview. You'll get the whole thing Saturday. This crowd is chanting asshole. And Ethan Page says they will make sure that Dan Lambert pins Chris Jericho. But tonight, Dan Lambert is going to tap Jericho out. And with that, Dan Lambert applies the walls of Lambert onto Chris Jericho, and Sky takes Jericho's hand to tap the mat as Lambert screams, "It's called a Boston Crab! Championship Wrestling from Florida, 1975, the real Rocky Johnson." Dude, Dan Lambert is just in a league of his own. I thought this angle was fantastic to send everyone into the pay-per-view.
It was really awesome. It was not just physicality right before going into the match, but like the type of very memorable physicality that just kind of makes you smile even thinking back on it. Seeing Dan Lambert put Chris Jericho in the walls of Jericho, but calling it a Boston Crab and citing Rocky Johnson. It just incredible. Fitting of the character, created a big scene and got this crowd riled up. Attacking the Inner Circle mid Judas really is the best time to do it. You get more heat doing that than, coming in and running down doing any sort of other sneak attack. This thing, to me, like Dan Lambert being paired with Sky and Page started off pretty awfully, in my opinion. But as soon as ATT got involved, as soon as some of those live reactions started to really pick up, it's been on fire. And heading into this pay-per-view, it feels like it's a major match.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how they space out and differentiate this street fight from the Falls Count Anywhere match on Saturday.
Right.
I mean, in both, like, you want to convey like these out of control brawls that will probably go all over the place. But I think they've done a good job with this. Like, this is all built around Dan Lambert on Saturday, and I think this was a really, really nice ending, or at least angle to set things in motion for Saturday. Britt Baker, Rebel, and Jamie Hayter against Ty Conti, Anna Jay, and Thunder Rosa. And they call Ty Conti the toughest test of Baker's title reign. And Baker is avoiding Conti at the beginning. And Baker and Thunder Rosa got involved at the beginning. And the crowd is chanting for both women before Rebel is quickly tagged in. They attack Jay on the floor behind the ref's back, went through the break where they're beating down on Jay. Eventually, Conti and Hayter were tagged in. and Conti's hitting bicycle kicks to all three in separate corners, hits a tie KO onto Hayter, which is broken up by Baker, and then Jamie hits a STO, and Rosa makes the save, and they note that Hayter and Thunder Rosa are meeting in the next round of the TBS tournament. Everyone is down, and Thunder Rosa climbs to the top and just nails Jamie Hayter with this high cross to the floor, and Hayter just takes this high cross. I thought Jamie Hayter was tremendous in this match of all six. I thought she really stood out in a positive way. There was a DDT to Rebel as Baker just watches and is not going to come to Rebel's aid, and Conti pins Rebel in 6:58, and Baker is portrayed as scared by Excalibur while Shivani defends her, saying she's being smart.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, it's often the case with AEW's women's matches on these shows. You have a lot of varying levels of experience, and as a result, I think you're going to see spots of ugliness in execution. And in this case, usually it doesn't really bother me that much, but in this case, I did feel like it kind of got in the way of my overall enjoyment of the match, and I think even for me, it seemed to take a bit away, a little from the focus of the match, which was supposed to be Ty Conti feeling like, she's getting really hot before that title match. But at the same time, I feel like Conti's shown so much ability and so much capability throughout this entire build that under the spotlight of a pay-per-view title match, I think she's going to have the match of her life. It's the biggest match of her career, and Britt always comes through, in those high-pressure situations.
Yeah, I mean, they have Thunder Rosa kind of off to the side here, but at least dangling that here. I think Anna Jay works better in some of these like 6-woman tags, where I feel like in the singles matches she's had of late, I think there's been like just this overall tentativeness that comes with it. From there, we went into a preview of Chris Statlander and Ruby Soho in the next round of the TBS tournament, where respect don't mean shit, Way.
Respect don't mean shit, no. Cool.
Very cool. Jungle Boy and Anthony Bowens. Jungle Boy's growing facial hair. The Acclaim make their entrance. Max Caster cut a rap. And then we went into the match, where it was Jungle Boy showing a ton more aggression. Lots of strikes in the corner. He landed this big drop kick, does the kip up. Crowd is chanting his name. And then Bowens took a lot of the second half of this match. They went through picture-in-picture, where Bowens got very heated in front of this fan in the front row, just screaming at her. We come back. Caster sent Jungle Boy into the rail, and Bowens drops him with chops. Jungle Boy fires back, but is hit with a twisting slam and a twisting DDT off the middle rope for a big near fall by Bowens. Jungle Boy fights for the leg, gets it, applies the snare trap. Crowd goes wild, and as he squeezes, he gives the middle finger to Caster, and Bowens taps in 10:09.
Good match, yeah. I'm glad they're giving Bowens continued exposure on TV in these singles matches. I think he's delivered in both instances. Obviously, against Bryan Danielson and against Jungle Boy. He's allowed for great showcases for both of those guys. So, what did you think of the rap, John?
It was all right.
Made fun of his stutter. I mean, I don't think Jungle Boy stutters. I've never heard him really stutter while he's cutting a promo. It does highlight, I suppose, maybe the weakest part of his game, which might be his promos, but he hardly is a stutterer.
Maybe he meant his theme song. It kind of is stuttering.
It's more of a yodel than a stutter, but yeah. He also brought up how he something about leaving your girlfriend alone with 7 guys, which I suppose is our first reference to him dating Anna Jay of the Dark Order.
At least on Dynamite, yes.
Yeah.
So this was okay for Anthony Bowens, I thought, between the Danielson match and this. This one in particular, they gave him quite a bit in the match, and the audience is really behind Jungle Boy as a babyface, and you can see like they are trying to add more dimensions to Jungle Boy, which this is a big match for him on Saturday, and the pairing with Adam Cole.
Totally. Absolutely.
And with that, Jungle Boy is celebrating the win, and we get a Fish attack. Bobby Fish attacks, hits him with an exploder into the ropes. Cage and Luchasaurus run down, and Fish runs off, leading to us getting the line from Jim Ross, "There goes the fish."
There goes the fish. Really the best name, honestly.
It's a tremendous name. Hangman Page is reflecting on Omega and the Bucks winning their titles last year while he stood in the distance and watched, and they showed in slow motion the collapse in the ring when Omega lets him fall and faceplant. And Page talks about the fans picking him up and there to really illustrate the moment of the audience embracing and taking this man in at his lowest. There is Hangman Page celebrating with Scrump in the front row as a true sign of the fans that have his back. And Omega, this is all clips from presumably the countdown. Omega stating, "I don't lose big matches, but Hangman always loses big matches."
Was this not the boat or something? Or was this on land? That scene with Scrump?
I don't know. He's been to many shows, so I don't know which one it was. It could have been the boat.
Yeah. This looked really cool. They had like a version of Itsy Bitsy Spider playing in the background that sounded super creepy and super serious. So I'm really looking forward to this countdown.
This countdown, they've done a great job on the go home shows for the countdown.
Like, wouldn't I guess like a Wednesday be ideal to air something like that? But maybe it's not. I mean, it's probably not that easy to get airtime, I suppose.
It's traditionally been the Friday night slot that they've been in. I mean, the shows do okay, too, like number-wise at that time. But I personally would be with you. I think like Wednesday is a bit better, but Friday is the slot that they get for these. So after that feature, Adam Cole is with the Young Bucks, and they make sure Brandon Cutler is rolling because we can't just be randomly on camera for no reason. And Adam Cole brings in an old friend of his to introduce to the Bucks, Bobby Fish. And the Bucks, oh, we know this guy. We know him very well. And Matt Jackson says, in AEW, there is no dispute. It's the era of the SuperKliq. And the challenge is made where they want Bobby Fish to take on Jungle Boy on Rampage Friday, but leave just a little bit for us for Full Gear. But this threw out a lot out there. They were putting a lot of bait on the hook as they were going fishing here, Way. And we'll see if we'll see if this segment is designed to catch a Kyle.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
This was certainly building up. I mean, there was certainly the big hint here with like alluding to the history, the Young Bucks not being as over the moon about Bobby Fish as Adam Cole is, but a unique segment nonetheless.
So we're led to believe that like the Bucks are aware of Bobby Fish, but only through the Undisputed Era and not through their time facing Red Dragon.
I think this was meant to allude to Red Dragon and the Bucks.
Okay, so they know each other.
A very famous feud. So I think that's where you were you as the viewer were supposed to think that. Right.
Okay. Yeah. No, this is cool. I mean, anybody watching this knows the connection between the two. You just turned Bobby Fish heel, which perfectly aligns him with another heel in Adam Cole. I took this list to be maybe a permanent allegiance and maybe more just something that's very convenient for Adam Cole for the time being. Maybe even using Bobby Fish, but the idea of Kyle coming in is certainly makes things that much more interesting. But probably won't be for a while, right?
I mean, his deal's up in December, reportedly.
Whoa, that soon?
Yes.
We're talking a few weeks.
There's a lot going on.
Maybe Von Wagner can come along.
Yeah, that would be...
I got a friend too, guys.
Everyone's got friends out there.
His name is Von. We know you. We know of Von Wagner. I don't know if he's making the jump.
Like, sorry, you can't be Von Wagner if you... Like, No, I can't be Von Wagner. Anyway, so there you go. Bobby Fish and Jungle Boy on Friday is the match for the Target Center.
They're really like getting their mileage out of Bobby Fish, man. This guy's like been on TV a lot.
It seems to be the formula for at least that level is to just go all out with somebody. And then you kind of cool it. Like Daniel Garcia feels like he's kind of, he's been phased down.
Right.
And, it's just kind of interweaving them when they're ready to heat them up. But everyone is kind of given something to like really cling to, where it's like, oh, Daniel Garcia. It's like there's some stock built there with his character. And I think that's what they are at least trying to build their mid-card scene around, people like that they can bring in, bring out. And it's kind of juggling all these, like, this is a huge roster to juggle. Then we go to the first it was the feature with Punk and Kingston, where they secured footage from IWA Mid-South when they were breaking in. And then Kingston, early in his days, Excalibur explaining, was carrying bags. And then we saw highlights from the face-to-face segment. And then there would be more from these two to come.
Wouldn't it be great if there was actually footage of him carrying bags?
And Punk just like on his Walkman.
Yeah, here's a word to all you indie wrestlers out there, okay? Film everything. You see a man carrying your bags, film it.
Hey, WWE would have had that on B-roll. Like, oh, type in Eddie Kingston bags, 2002. What color bags do you want? We have them all.
Yeah. Get a close-up of, like, make sure it says CM Punk on the bag. Like, they got to have... Listen, you never know what's going to be used in your future, okay? Everything, there's a story to be told from. So, yeah,
Punk throwing money on the floor for him.
Oh, lovely.
Wheeler Yuta versus Wardlow. This was a late add to the show. Yuta is 6-1 in his last 7 matches. Guess what, folks? The streak was about to end here. Spears is against Moxley, right? Correct, where he got murdered. Spears is not with Wardlow because he's off training with MJF. Yuta slips on the turnbuckle coming out of the corner. So Wardlow just pummels him from this point forward. It kind of played in where it's like he made a screw up and Wardlow just pounced him. And Jim Ross warned everyone of the dangers of wrestling in tennis shoes.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Tennis shoes. No,
that's AEW's version of like the "don't try it at home" ads.
Well, you got to wear Jordans, right? Isn't that the shoe of the modern era?
Yeah,
the wrestling shoe,
Dior's, but not tennis shoes. And Wardlow just killed this dude. Multiple power bombs, and the crowd's just chanting for more. So he gives him a 4th one, and the crowd is all behind Wardlow here. And he does his rising knee strike out of the corner for the win in 2:19. This was like just a really impressive squash for Wardlow, and this crowd just loved him by the end of this. Didn't do much for Yuta, but Wardlow looked, dominant here.
It almost feels like they gave the exact same Moxley push against the same opponent to Wardlow here, because I thought this was absolutely a babyface type of, monster push for a Wardlow who, obviously has a future program ahead of him with MJF. So, it didn't make me dislike Wardlow at all. And in fact, made the crowd love Wardlow, seeing him beat poor Wheeler Yuta up like this.
Then Isaiah Cassidy and the Blade attacked the Best Friends, and Hardy, who had been in the front row, brings a chair into the ring. Cassidy is filming this on his phone. They're not aware they've got a TV deal. This is on cable. And Hardy uses a chair to wrap it around Cassidy's neck and hit him with a twist of fate, which is going to lead to a lumberjack match on Rampage between Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy.
This feels like it's been a feud that's been going on forever. We've already had the hair match, and now we're getting just a match?
A lumberjack match.
A lumberjack match, okay. Yeah, I don't know if this is the blow-off or not, but I don't feel that excited about this Matt Hardy, Orange Cassidy thing. I suppose it just kind of feels like it's a time to culminate because we're going through a pay-per-view.
You don't think this is going to fill the Target Center on Friday night?
Maybe not. Maybe with lumberjacks.
Maybe. Then we go to the parking lot, and Kingston and CM Punk are being separated. And we've got Dustin Rhodes and company holding back Punk. Ruby Soho is keeping Kingston away with the group over there. And then my favorite part of this, Kingston breaks free and dude sprints like the fastest you've seen Eddie Kingston run with all his might. And they were able to stop him. This was a nice, believable pull apart, but his run was just epic.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was quite the quite the backstage pull apart. It looked big, and they had such a big talking segment on Friday that I don't think they would have been able to top anyway if they wanted to. So some level of tease physicality, I thought was probably all you needed.
Yeah, do you think we get anything more from them on Friday, or do you think this one, it's built? There's not much more to do for it.
It might already be built because I think they have so much stuff to do. I would air clips, from whatever countdown, or at least just a preview, just to hear these guys talk.
Yeah, so. I think they've done a phenomenal job in a week building this up.
They should just really have somebody read the Players Tribune article for the whole half hour.
Maybe Punk reads it.
Ooh, okay.
Dante Martin and Lio Rush against Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty. The crowd is singing for Lee Moriarty at the start of this. Him and Dante had this phenomenal opening sequence. And then Rush, this was his Dynamite debut. Him and Sydal are tagged in, and Rush gets into Moriarty's face, then slaps Sydal, and Lee Moriarty hits him with a shot from behind, leading to a spin kick from Sydal. And then Rush took off. He hit a Rana coming off of the rope. They go through picture-in-picture where Moriarty and Rush are in. Rush got spun and dropped onto his chest. And then Lio Rush fought off both Sydal and Moriarty with just the most amazing comeback. His speed is just at another level and won the crowd over. After this sequence, they were on their feet for this dude. He hits a handspring double elbow to both men. There's a lope to Sydal, then to Moriarty on the opposite end of the ring. Sydal is able to catch Rush with a leaping Rana. Sydal was very good in this match. All four of them were tremendous. Lee then springs to the top, tossing off Dante. There's a spinning hook kick by Rush that lands on Lee, setting up Dante as he directs traffic for the double springboard moonsault and pins Moriarty in 10 minutes and 14 seconds. I thought these four just killed it. I love this tag match, and I thought this was just outstanding. You may technically enjoy Danielson and Romero more, but in terms of what it's going to do for these four, this was my match of the show. I thought it was so spectacular, and it really propels all four of these guys into having that much more of a focus in this company. And Lio Rush was out of this world.
Completely agreed. Yeah, Lio Rush mentioned on social media this week that his grandmother passed away.
Yeah.
From a heart attack, and how she was looking forward to seeing him wrestle on TV again. And this, essentially it feels more so like an actual AEW debut for him. And I'm sure he went into this match with a great deal of emotions and a great deal of motivation to have an incredible performance. And he absolutely did. He was amazing here. And everybody knows how amazing he's always been, but we haven't seen it, I suppose, on at least, national AEW TV for quite a while. And here he was reminding us just who he is, how much of a full, complete package he is. Not only can he speak, but the man can move like this. He really is just an incredible, incredible talent that for a time we didn't know if we would get again. So I hope they really go far with him. I hope he takes Dante Martin with him, and Lee Moriarty and Matt Sydal. All four of these guys. You look at this match on paper, and I think they more than delivered. They exceeded expectations of the style of match that they would have. I feel like I'm seeing a bit less of the whole stock buyback stuff that Lio Rush was trying to push here. I don't know about all that stuff. Just give me great wrestling, and that's I think all these guys really need.
This was a leverage buyout type of performance from
leverage buyout.
Rush. Yes. We go to Miro. He wasn't in the confessional, but this was still pretty great. He addresses Bryan Danielson. He says over and over, "This is not personal. He is everything to some, but you are nothing to me. Do you know my God? Do you know if he's blessing or messing with me? Is he willing to trade my bad neck for yours? I need to win this tournament and get this title. Danielson, you should fear me." And he tells Danielson to say goodbye to your wife so I can say hello to mine.
I fucking love these. I think they're so great. I have no idea where this guy gets any of this stuff from.
It's like poetry.
Yeah. Like, this is the same guy who, for most of his career, didn't speak. And this is also the same guy who came into this company wanting to work some sort of video game gimmick. How does that guy go from that to something like with this much depth of, and just, it just feels so incredibly unique as well. The delivery is great. It looks great. He's just awesome in this match. These two, I don't even know if they've been in the same room together on TV. I don't think they've had a stare down. I don't think they've had anything.
They did the face off last week when Miro
you're right,
won the semifinal.
Right. But that's not, I mean, that's kind of it, as far as like Danielson goes, like he's just been having great matches. And to me, that's the promise here. I mean, obviously the winner goes and gets a title shot, but beyond that, I just look forward to these two having a great hard hitting match.
Mm-hmm. And then Dax Harwood versus PAC. There's a stalemate after the first 2 minutes. It's an exchange of holds, shoulder blocks, escapes, and they just go nose to nose. And Dax starts punching him. And after the last right hand, he's shaking his hand in pain and just yells, "Fuck!" Harwood is sent to the floor as PAC hits a twisting dive. And during the picture-in-picture, he hits a spine buster on PAC and starts taking over. They fight to the top. PAC stops him. And he proceeds to hit a brain buster off the top. You thought Dax was dead. And Jim Ross notes that neither man wearing sneakers. It was like the timing of Jim Ross to make this point about the lack of tennis shoes here for these two. Someone started bleeding in all of this. There was like blood on both of them as Aubrey is checking both of them. But this was nuts. Dax selling or just, this brainbuster was out of this world. It was just insane. He hits a missile drop kick to Harwood from behind, but then Harwood rolls away from the Black Arrow attempt. Tully tries to help Dax out of the corner, so PAC misses, and now Dax hits a brainbuster, getting a near fall. They continue. PAC is knocked off balance, and Dax hits a belly to back off of the top. PAC with a release German, lariat from Dax, and then a slingshot sit-out powerbomb. PAC still kicks out. There is a backslide onto Dax. As he kicks out, it's transitioned to the brutalizer, and Dax Harwood taps out due to his injured shoulder. He doesn't want to do further damage because of the tag title match on Saturday, but PAC will not release immediately, so Cash Wheeler jumps him, and this was another outstanding match. To get these two back-to-back, this was as great a 1-2 punch as you're going to get. I thought that some of the wrestling on the show was phenomenal, but these two matches back-to-back were sensational.
Yeah, completely agreed. I think with PAC, we completely understand what he's capable of, and I think we know that about Dax Harwood as well. But because we rarely see him and Cash Wheeler wrestle singles, it's a bit more of an unknown. And a match like this shows you that he is incredible as a singles wrestler. And if they chose to do this more often, I think all of us would be incredibly happy with it. Just to think about the various combinations that are possible with his style in a singles capacity. He and PAC meshed together perfectly, incredibly well. And the booking was really interesting to me. PAC is not the guy going into the pay-per-view with a match. And he's the person who wins here. But it also kind of makes sense because, the tag team wrestler should not necessarily be able to beat a single star.
Well, they would do the angle afterwards where the lights go out and Malachi Black and Andrade appear, and they join in on the beatdown of PAC when the Lucha Brothers come out, and Cody comes through the crowd, and Cody immediately goes after Malachi Black. The crowd's going crazy, and they end up clearing the ring. And then afterwards, they did add the tag match for Saturday. So it's Malachi Black and Andrade against Cody and PAC.
Oh, okay.
They did mention that after the commercial break.
That's on the main card?
Yes.
So 9 matches total.
9 matches.
And
yes.
Any of those on the buy-in?
The buy-in is going to be Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida against Nyla Rose and Jamie Hayter, they announced.
Okay, 10 matches. All right, cool.
It's going to be a late night on Saturday. That's my prediction.
It will be, yeah.
So Rampage, we've just have the 2 matches, Jungle Boy against Bobby Fish and Orange Cassidy against Matt Hardy in a lumberjack match, which Target Center is a very big building. I don't know. This lineup, I mean, we'll see. They'll probably add another match to this, but it's kind of just feels like the night before the big show.
Okada, are you free? It's not Saturday. I mean, how far of
I mean, it's from Minneapolis to San Jose. You could make that trip. So yeah, they announced the buy-in match. They announced the Cody tag match for the pay-per-view. Then we had a feature on MJF and Darby Allin, and really just kind of establishing the 4 pillars as a clear concept in AEW, identifying MJF, Darby, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara. Which, I mean, you've always had the mentions of the 4 pillars, but this seemed to be the most, pardon the pun, concrete focus on them.
When are we getting the t-shirt? Doesn't mean anything until there's an actual t-shirt. That's when it's official.
That's right. The Elite and the Dark Order have been banned from the building for the contract signing, so we see a split screen of both teams leaving the arena. And Tony Schiavone has been tasked with hosting this contract signing. Both Hangman Page and Kenny Omega are brought out. And Page says there's not much left to say. I'm going to beat your ass at Full Gear. And he signs the contract as the crowd chants cowboy shit. Omega wavers. He doesn't sign. He says, we were friends. We were family. And says if it wasn't, all of this was for you. If not for your insecurities and failures. We always picked you up from your sorrows. We even invited you back into our group because I saw a bit of myself in you. But I was wrong. You're a disappointment. Page says, well, Kenny, you too once had a partner that you didn't think you lived up to either. But now with all you've accomplished, maybe you have surpassed him. And Omega told him a lot of lies. But the biggest one you told was last year at Full Gear after winning the Eliminator tournament when you said that you were proud of me and that I did a good job. You lied because you were afraid of me. You didn't want that loss to light a fire under me to become what I will on Saturday night when I become world champion. And Omega says that he cares about Page. I did it to help you and realize your potential. I don't know if we'll ever be friends again or team again, but let's shake hands one final time and go out and kill it at this pay-per-view. So they shake hands, and Kenny with the line, good job, Hangman. I'm proud of you. And with that, the cameraman in the ring nails Hangman Page, busting him open, and it is the reveal of Don Callis. As they all laugh, Page is laying there bloody, and Callis cuts a big promo about the greatest trick the devil ever taught was teaching you he didn't exist. And does this guy look like he's ready to win a title as Kenny Omega, diving into his Vince McMahon Hulk Hogan lead up to WrestleMania 19, signs the contract in Hangman's blood as the show goes off the air.
Yeah, these nasty.
Hangman, you testified against me.
Yeah, exactly. This was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You know,
I thought this episode was fantastic. I thought we got some incredible wrestling on this show and a tremendous angle to set things off. I honestly, I don't need Rampage on Friday. I thought this was more than I need to be sold on this pay-per-view. Friday almost just feels like our programming commitment that we have. I think they the Kingston Punk program has peaked. The Hangman Omega match that has peaked, and I think those feel to me like that is the number 1, number 2 matches on this show.
Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed this contract signing. I mean, at its core, what a contract signing is just a chance to hear some final promos for each participant to, cut a great promo against the other, and you absolutely had that. This was, I think, about as serious of a Kenny Omega promo as we've had in AEW. And Hangman Page just somehow perfectly encapsulates, I think, the exact type of babyface leader this audience demands, while still seeming incredibly cool at the same time. He sounded awesome. I love the kind of little allusions to Kenny's previous partner. That always, does a whole lot. And I suppose with current negotiations, maybe not that far off with the way things are going right now. But great closing angle with Callis with the camera as well. Everything worked out really well. This was, enough physicality and enough depth of words from the participants as we head into the match.
Yeah, I thought it was a great show. I thought they did a really, really strong job building up the pay-per-view for Saturday. So, and in particular, I really enjoyed Danielson and Romero, but the final two matches on the show are certainly ones to go out of your way to check out if you missed them.
It was a very good go-home show.
Alrighty, this feedback time, forum.postwrestling.com. And Wai, do you want to kick things off?
Yeah, I've taken off the polls for these. I just don't really see the point in them anymore, especially on Mondays. And I always find, the real barometer of whether or not people have, first of all, fully watched the show is through the actual comments themselves. So we're going to keep it to that. And we have quite a few of them on this episode of Dynamite. We start off with Bruce, who says, "Hot damn, what a fun couple of hours of wrestling television that was. Some of the best bell-to-bell we've had on Dynamite all year, and solid underlining of the stories heading into full gear. Danielson had a perfect partner in Rocky, and PAC and Dax was an absolute clinic. Twitter lit up tonight at the Vegas hints that we might be seeing O'Reilly and possibly even Okada in an AEW ring in the near future. But you don't need to fantasize about what might be in order to appreciate what we will be getting on Saturday." That's the thing, too, it feels like...
Kyle O'Reilly was certainly very vague. Okada was not vague.
No, not at all. No. The thing is, going into All Out, it feels like, okay, like these teases. I mean, at that point, it wasn't so much a tease, but like the arrival of a CM Punk and then the tease of an Adam Cole or Bryan Danielson. I don't know if many people... felt like Full Gear would be able to live up to that level of anticipation at all. But with the rate that people keep getting released and contracts get lapsing, heading into this one, we still have names that are sort of in the air that we can predict or at least anticipate coming into AEW in the future. And Kyle O'Reilly being one of them. Okada not as much on a full-time basis, but still, enough to get people excited about for sure.
And we have seen that the episode coming out of the pay-per-view when they have done big things is some of their biggest episodes in terms of audience. Johnny writes, "Man, what a show. It's really hard to say what was the match of the night when all of them were so good. After seeing him work with Rocky and Suzuki, I can't wait for that inevitable Danielson New Japan run. All these bits of promos have me excited for the countdown. It might be their best one yet. The only complaint I have is that it's time for Matt and Orange Cassidy to be done. Feels like all of Best Friends' feuds have overstayed their welcome. For Full Gear, do you think we get a New Japan star appearing to start a program with any star? Not on the pay-per-view. It's literally impossible for any of that talent on the San Jose show to be in Minneapolis at the same time.
No, you can't do that. I mean, can you do a video, perhaps? A video message? Yeah, I suppose you can, sure.
Like, you could certainly announce something for Wednesday. Like, that happened, you got... Suzuki physically appearing at All Out, but you could certainly make a big announcement and there'd be a ton of buzz if you said, hey, this Wednesday, so-and-so is coming to Dynamite.
Actually, maybe a more interesting question. Can you see any AEW talent showing up at the New Japan show? Any members of Chaos showing up?
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility.
All right, we got a JPK Justin, who says, "After the first hour, I was like, that was pleasant. Good wrestling. But good lord, the second hour was my favorite hour AEW has put on. Dante, Lio versus Sydal and Moriarty was more than an awesome match. It felt like it was establishing a pair of tag teams who will challenge for gold in 2022 and planted the seeds of a flight of future stars. I love the final segment as well. Just great promo work from Kenny trying to be manipulative, from Hangman calling him out on the BS and invoking Kota Ibushi, and then Don Callis' masterful return. Also, I was thrilled at Best Friends joining Chaos. It's really the first instance of cross-promoting in that way. AEW wrestlers are now recognized teammates of the great Yoshihashi and that Okada guy. Amazing to realize we will likely have Okada and Ibushi and others interacting with Kenny and the Bucks when the pandemic allows. Just a fiery home turn towards Full Gear. 10 out of 10.
Brad the Archivist, the framing of the out-of-place camera guy in the final segment was great. Just enough to notice him throughout the whole contract signing, but they were able to make the quick cut so you thought it was just an accidental stepping into the frame. Excellent production work. Really looking forward to Full Gear, an 8 out of 10 show.
We got an MJ who says, this show gets 10 Wardlow powerbombs out of 10. You asked how did AEW decide to sell their pay-per-views this afternoon, and their answer was to put on a wrestling show that featured a show with maybe the best TV in-ring performances of the year. There's something to be said about this roster where everybody can go, and the entire mid and undercard are a click away from being main eventers. The mid-card full of main event talent makes for a great promotion. On tonight's edition, which AEW star will come seemingly out of nowhere and remind us that they will be a future main event star, Wardlow. It's amazing how they do that time and time and again. I cannot wait for the real Wednesday Night War, the undisputed Wednesday Night War. Yeah.
All right, we go to Brian from New Jersey. A fantastic go-home Dynamite. Regardless of what the ratings are, AEW's television has an entirely different energy from WWE's, and I love it. Even when building up a heck of a pay-per-view card, we get some fantastic matches with Danielson Romero, PAC versus Dax Harwood, and a tag match with the new White Power Ranger, Lio Rush, that felt like it was from the glory days of the Cruiserweight division on Nitro.
We got a Muggin who says, this was a strong go-home show. I want to bring close attention to the closing segment. The Omega Hangman story is nearing the apex, and the setup with Callis as the cameraman was well done. The blood on the contract amplifies the intensity on what is sure to be a hell of a world title match. Big ups to the White Ranger gear on Lio Rush. That tag match was a lot of fun.
Oh man, I'm out of the loop on my White Ranger historical recall. He should have had a flute, a sword that doubled as a flute.
That's Green Ranger. But maybe did the White Ranger have
Green
that?
Ranger became the White Ranger.
Yeah, but I don't think he had a flute anymore.
Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember. That was a very dramatic saga. Manny from California. Dynamite was full of great matches tonight. The Sydal Lio Dante match was my match of the night. I'm excited to see Lee Moriarty and Dante continue to grow, and their opening segment was amazing. I always get goosebumps whenever I see Malachi and Andrade together. Forget the Pinnacle. Put FTR with Black and Andrade. I'm looking forward to Full Gear this Saturday. And Tony Khan, put the TBS title on Jamie Hayter and the women's title on Serena Deeb. I demand it. Okay, I'm sure he will take that into consideration.
We got a Kate who says, the show was so close to perfect as close to perfect as I think any wrestling TV show could be. It started slower and then just built throughout the 2 hours to such an amazing crescendo in the contract signing. It's almost shocking that in this day and age, AEW can get us all invested in a genuine good guy, not a cool badass like Moxley, but an old-fashioned cowboy with insecurities and a heart worn on his sleeve. Remarkable.
And the final one goes to Luke from Quebec. Everyone has talked a lot about the positives, and I agree with it all. However, I was a bit puzzled by tonight's booking. Is now the best time for a Rocky Romero debut, a Wardlow match, or a Bowens match? Slots on Dynamite are limited, and a lot of this go-home show had little to do with the pay-per-view. I would have preferred a longer segment with Punk and Kingston, which feels like one of the hottest matches, yet got very little time tonight. I think the pay-per-view card looks amazing, but once again, I'm sad to notice there's only one single women's match on a stacked card. Pre-show doesn't count. We have tons of examples of great stories not involving title belts for men. Why can't they do the same for women? It's AEW's biggest weakness and has been for a long time. I'm not seeing much effort on their part to change that, which is disappointing. Effort, I would certainly say, like, if you want to criticize that, you can. They are focused now on the TBS tournament, so I think you are seeing more time in terms of different programs that are going on. I mean, that's look at this pay-per-view lineup. I mean, that is kind of like the way things are slotted here. I mean, they don't have 4 different women's programs going on at once, and that's just a reality of the situation. I don't know if they could have 4 different women's programs going on at the same time. I think it's still a division that is still in development. I don't think anyone is looking at this as a finished product, and therefore those criticisms are fine to make.
The star power isn't exactly there. I mean, 1 out of 9, yeah, does look kind of, I guess, what is it, 2 out of 10? Is that it? With the pre-show?
Right.
Looks pretty abysmal. but they're saving the TBS matches for TV, it looks like. And when you're simply looking at star power of this roster, I mean, predominantly it is going to be the male talent. Everybody who is on this pay-per-view, I don't think you can disagree with their placement on this show. Everybody is a star at a certain level in matches of, I think, a certain level of anticipation. Is there room for another? Like Ruby Soho is really hot, but like, would I put her in another match against somebody else on this? I mean, not with the TBS title going on, and I don't even listen. There's not much argument, because I suppose if they wanted to devote TV time to building a story for Ruby Soho to get on this show, they could. But I think Tony Khan's interests are more so in promoting the already higher established stars, I suppose, on his roster. So hopefully it changes, after the TBS title gets developed, and also, more female stars get brought into the division. I do sense, very much man, I hate to use the term, but a woman's revolution taking place at some point in AEW, where a lot of this will get addressed, and we'll start to see a bit more of a balance as, bigger talent gets established, more people rise up to main event level. So it's definitely something that continues to be discussed and addressed, and you're right to criticize it. I did want to say, though, like, the Rocky Romero match, the Anthony Bowens match, and even the Wardlow match, I mean, not in Wardlow's case, but at least in Romero and Bowens' case, like, those were showcase matches for their opponents who are heading into the pay-per-view with matches. Totally. It was a showcase match for Bryan Danielson. It was a showcase match for Jungle Boy. The Wardlow match was definitely maybe a bit more perplexing, like the Wheeler Yuta beatdown. Was that really the time to do it? But maybe it was also there just to kind of set up the Orange Cassidy, Matt Hardy deal, perhaps. And who knows? Like, I don't know what exactly they had planned with Wardlow. Like, again, we all remember Tony Khan's draft. Can we match the the leak with like the actual card? Nah, forget it. Who cares? But like, Wardlow was supposed to have a big match, or at least he was considered to be in a big match. And maybe this is just some sort of make good. Hey, we're not putting you on the show, but you get to have a beatdown on Wheeler Yuta on the go home show. I'm not exactly sure, but he is a focused person as well. He's somebody that you're going to use, I imagine, very much in the near future. So, and
maybe is going to be involved in the MJF Darby match as well. Like, clearly, like I don't subscribe to the idea that every last second of your show has to be dedicated to your pay-per-view. Your storytelling doesn't end on Saturday. You want to have things that are ongoing, that are going to be coming out of this. And I would assume like there is going to come that time when they are ready to go to the next level with Wardlow on top of it. And like we talked with Punk and Kingston, they probably could have had a hell of a segment if you came up with it. But are we building it any further than where we're at this point? Like, it's like that comes to all the timing of once you peak a feud, you don't want to kind of overshoot it, and it becomes where we see where it's just angle on top of angle on top of angle, where you miss your peak moment.
Yeah, you're at the point now where you don't want to tamper with it so much that you risk actually losing it and exhausting this audience. You're at the point where you just want to kind of keep the flame going.
All right. On that note, we're going to shut things down, and Wai and I are going to be back on Friday night, 11:15 Eastern. I've still not got used to this start time, but we will be live right after Rampage to go through SmackDown and Rampage. And then Saturday night, the all elite wrestling full gear post show. Myself and Wai will be live immediately after the pay-per-view for Double, Ice Cap, and Espresso members of the cafe. We've also got the NWA podcast dropping Saturday morning with Nate, Chris, and Andrew. And the week leads up to Sunday night, WrestleNomics Radio with Brandon and Chris will be dropping to talk another big week, probably giving a lot more insight into Raw's third hour and where things stand across the board on the Pro Wrestling Scoreboard. So check out all of that at postwrestling.com. And
post daily news updates every single day here. usually around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock-ish, dropping in audio form on the Post Wrestling Cafe feed, and then for free also at youtube.com/postwrestling. So go and subscribe and join John and Nate tomorrow.
The race to 10,000 on YouTube. Subscribe now. Like the video. And that's it. That's all we have to promote. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good night.